Hey everyone, and welcome to the very first explainer from Study Squad. I am so excited to finally kick this channel off. If you're looking for a way to totally supercharge your learning, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're diving into a technique that I've researched that is an absolute game changer, especially for anyone who's ever felt totally overwhelmed by information.
I mean, you totally know that feeling, right? You spend hours staring at your notes, you've got highlighters all over the place, you're reading chapters over and over again, and then the next day, poof, it's like it all just vanished from your brain. Ugh, it is so frustrating, and honestly, it just feels like a complete waste of time.
But what if I told you there's a better way? A method that actually works with your brain's natural wiring, instead of fighting against it? Well, there is. It's a technique I've spent a lot of time researching, and it's called chunking. I've basically boiled down all the key ideas into a simple guide just for you.
Okay, so what is chunking? Let's break it down. At its core, it's really simple. It's the process of taking all these individual little pieces of information and grouping them together into bigger, more meaningful units. We call them chunks. And the key here, the really important part, is that these groups have to be logical. You know, they're based on a shared purpose or a common concept.
So you might be asking, why does this actually supercharge your brain? Well, let's use an example. Imagine you have to memorize a list of, say, 100 separate facts for a big exam. To your brain, that looks like 100 different separate items it has to track. That is a huge amount of mental effort. Psychologists call it cognitive load. And frankly, it's just completely overwhelming.
But now, what if you use chunking? Instead of 100 items, your brain sees maybe 5. Just 5 big categories. Things like causes of the war, key battles, major leaders. You get the idea. All of a sudden, your brain only has to track 5 big ideas instead of 100 little ones. That's the power of this method. It just slashes that cognitive load right down.
Here's a great way to think about it. It's like putting lots of files into folders on your computer. An unorganized brain, that's like a desktop with a million icons scattered everywhere. Finding anything is a total nightmare, right? But with well-named folders, boom, everything's instantly accessible. Chunking is literally creating those folders inside your head, making it super easy to find what you need later.
Okay, but here's the catch. And trust me, it's a big one. It's not just about randomly grouping things together. It's about grouping them meaningfully. Because if you do it wrong, you can actually make everything way more confusing. So let's look at how to do this the right way versus the wrong way.
So on the left, that's our goal, a nice, clear structure, what we call a knowledge backbone. The information just makes intuitive sense because you've actually thought about it. You've prioritized it into these strong, separate groups. And then on the right, well, that's the mess you get from bad chunking. It's just a chaotic jumble with no clear priority where it feels like everything is connected to everything else in this super overwhelming web.
So how can you tell if you're doing it wrong? Okay, here are the big red flags to look out for. First, if your mind map looks like a tangled spiderweb without a clear central structure, that's a huge problem. Another big warning sign, if you have a single idea with more than, say, 4 branches shooting off it, that's a hint that those branches probably need to be grouped into their own new chunk. And the biggest tell of all, if you look at your notes and you feel more overwhelmed instead of more organized, yep, you haven't chunked effectively.
Okay, so we know what not to do. But what's the secret to getting it right every single time? How do we create those strong, meaningful groups that actually help us learn instead of just confusing us?
Believe it or not, it all comes down to one simple but incredibly powerful question. You have to ask yourself, why is this important? See, you don't just ask, how are these things similar? You need to ask, why are they important together? It's like grouping historical figures by the first letter of their last name is pretty useless. But grouping them by the political movements they led, now that creates a meaningful chunk because you've understood its significance.
All right, enough theory. Let's make this super practical. I'm going to give you a simple 4-step process you can use right now on whatever it is you're studying. So consider this your very first chunking challenge. Okay, ready? Step 1. Just scan your material to get the big picture. What's the main idea here? Step 2. Start grouping concepts that seem like they belong together. Just make your initial piles. Step 3, and listen up because this is the most important part. For each of those groups you just made, ask yourself that magic question. Why is this group important to the main theme? This is where the magic happens, where you create the meaning. And finally, step 4, arrange those now meaningful groups into a clear, logical structure. And there you have it. That's your knowledge backbone.
And the payoff for doing this? Oh, it's huge.
Seriously, information finally starts to just click. It makes intuitive sense. Your ability to remember and recall what you've learned is going to go way, way up. You'll find you can learn faster with so much less stress, and best of all, you're building this solid mental framework that makes it way easier to tackle even more complex stuff down the road.
So, there you have it. The power is officially in your hands. You now have a proven technique to make your learning so much more efficient and effective. The only question left is, now that you can learn faster and smarter, what's the very first thing you're going to master? Drop it in the comments below. I really want to know. Thanks so much for joining me for the very first Study Squad Explainer. I'll see you in the next one.